Hello, hello. This is the 83rd Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2222, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. And today we almost forgot to put the past in podcast.
We did.
Yeah. We were testing all kinds of new Congo recipes that your Congo downloaded.
Yep. All kinds of drinks.
All kinds of drinks.
Beverages.
Definitely. So we have the table lined up with all kinds of different beverages, hot and cold. And
exactly, and the hot ones especially, you may hear us slurping a little.
Yeah, they are definitely
Cool
hot.
down.
And they stay hot. I don't know how they do that. It's like normally after a while
That's
they
nice,
cool down.
Yeah, I think that's not just the drink itself, but the cups that the Congo puts them in.
Ah, okay. So, but that's the thing. Like the cup doesn't feel warm. So
No.
I have it when I'm drinking it.
I think there's some active circuitry inside it, Like the handle itself isn't hot here, but in here, the main body and maybe just underneath it's doing something.
Yeah. If it wasn't this vapor coming from them, I would only when touching my lips, I would realize, this is a hot drink.
Right, because it's cool to the touch on the outside. See if it picks up. I don't think that picks up on the mic, but anyway, the outside of it is cool.
But so we're multitasking because we almost forgot. We were also supposed to record. So we're now doing Congo testing and podcast recording at the same time. Multitasking.
Yep.
And if you're doing two things at the same time,
It's twice as good.
They both go well, as we know.
Yep.
But the topic today is not Congo recipes. It's the chorus verse.
Yeah, we've not. I think it's something we haven't even mentioned before.
We may have mentioned the verse. Most people say the verse when they talk about it. But I'm not sure if we mentioned it. Not a lot, I guess.
No, definitely not in depth.
Which is weird because I definitely spent quite some time in it.
Yeah.
But it's with those things that are like so present in our lives, you don't identify them anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like, most people go to the toilet most days, but it's not something you talk about in general conversation.
Or socks. Most people wear socks.
Most people do wear socks, no. Maybe you buy some new ones that are really exceptional. You may bring it up, but day to day, it's
or really futuristic.
Indeed, for this show.
But there's no, except for the fabric, there's nothing futuristic about my socks.
No. But so we're not talking about socks today. It's the chorus verse, and I don't know if just to make it clearer for our listeners, it's a virtual reality world, not a real world, and it's not a one that's. It doesn't have any resemblance to the real world, so there aren't like virtual versions of cities or countries or towns or landmarks that exist in the real world. It's its own unique landscape.
Yeah, and it's basically when you're in there, it's all you experience. It's really like a second universe.
A second life of some kind. And especially when you're in there, part of it. So the world is different from the outside world and your avatar.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's up to you. You can, of course, make an avatar that looks and behaves and is just like you, but you have the freedom to make it completely different as well.
Yeah, that's because the verse lets you generate an avatar based on your features. Basically, you can have
the default.
You can connect it to your cams. It records you, takes a few seconds, and then an avatar gets generated that looks exactly like you. And nobody uses this.
No. Well, yeah, no.
I think there
is a fun thing people do where they don't use their own, so they get their friends to basically make an avatar and then swap with them so that they can pretend to be their friend or someone they know or whatever. But no one, as far as I know, is themselves in the verse.
I've seen it where salespeople, that try to sell you something in the game, that they sometimes are themselves. So you basically have a connection with them in real life. So
and they want to maintain that.
Yeah, but
or nurture it.
But because of that, they stand out, and because in the chorus verse everybody looks different, it feels kind of awkward and not real. It's like
sure. But I think that's not just that meaning in terms of marketing and advertising, that's required by law. Because at some point early on in the past, there were versions where they would get the likeness of someone you knew, like a friend or someone you from your family, and then they would pretend to be that or try to pretend to be that person to sell something to you, and that was really not unsettling.
Oh, that's why that's the case, because they stand out so much, and then they come, hey,
they have to.
either.
Now they make it a selling point. Hey, we're forming a relationship with you. We really want to get to know you. And it's by necessity.
I thought that was the idea behind it. Because no matter what awesome things they have to offer, either in the verse or in the real world, it's, it's basically when you're at a costume party and it's the person that's not dressed.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like... Okay.
Or, tongue in cheek, or, they say, hey, I'm dressed as someone who's a marketer. Yeah.
Oh, good point, yeah. Or I'm dressed as myself.
Sure, but that's okay. Not at a fancy dress party. And, effectively, this is a fancy dress.
It is.
Maybe not a party, but a fancy dress thing.
It's true, actually. It's like this one massive, permanent, ongoing costume party. Mm-hmm. But maybe we explain a little bit how we access it.
Mm-hmm. How do we use them?
I think the standard way, at least what I think most people are still doing, is through your lens, right? Your lens or your Aura Jones, you connect it to the verse.
Right.
You sit in the
chair.
It's
a little bit like daydreaming.
Yeah.
You're sitting in your sofa or whatever at home, but you're seeing and hearing what's going on in the verse. Yeah,
your lens overlays it so you don't notice your room, your surroundings anymore. You just make it comfortable in your bed or you're in your chair or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then because it's connected to your Aura Jones, you're basically in there. Yeah. And then you basically, you move around virtually.
Yeah.
I think that's the standard way. That's how I do it most of the time.
Yeah.
Still.
It's the thing where especially if when I use it, I also sit down or lay down. So I don't want to use my feet to pretend like I'm walking. So then while I'm in the verse, I'm doing the thing where I'm basically like floating around. Mm-hmm. Looking where I want to go, floating over there, but not needing to step or run or anything like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Mm. But I've seen people in cars a lot. Basically, if they're using cars for whatever reason, but they take the time while they're in the car to basically connect to the verse. And I think your lens, like connecting it through the lens, is ideal for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe half an hour for short moments in there.
Well, and especially because while you're driving, it's a nice combination, a hybrid, where in the verse, you'll have the same obstacles, the same road orientation and so on. So you won't crash into things in the real world, but you get to be driving through some other landscape, some other world in terms of what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. But it's, for me, I think I think if I'm in there for more than an hour, then just being at home in your chair with your lenses on, then it starts being uncomfortable.
Right.
I think from an hour on.
Oh, yes. Okay. Right. We've talked about the short term or ways of using it just for a little while. And when you want to go a bit more in depth, you want to spend more time in the verse, then you go to a chorus verse center. Yeah. A CV center.
In malls are there?
Sure. That's where the best ones are.
Malls. I mean, in malls. Different malls.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely that's also a bit of a like not a date. It's let's go somewhere.
An event,
yeah, exactly. It's an event, and then of course you pay, or either you have a subscription or you pay, but then you go there, and then it's completely optimized for actually going into the verse.
Yeah, for taking care of your body while it's sitting there, and then also providing a better experience to you while you're in the verse itself. Yeah,
and I like it because the seats that they have there, they are completely optimized for going into the verse.
Mm-hmm. The teleporter seats.
Yeah, teleporter seats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they serve multiple purposes. So the most obvious one, well, maybe not obvious, but at least the most important one. When you spend several hours in the verse, at some point you'll need the toilet. Mm-hmm. Teleporter seat teleports the stuff away from you. You don't need to wear a nappy or get things real nasty.
It's funny, they don't actually advertise.
No, but it's important.
But it's also you have different seats, like depending on the model and the manufacturer and so on. But I find the most comfortable one is basically you're kind of hanging forward, kind of like the upside down dentist seat.
Meaning face down, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Face down, but not completely flat. You're kind of like, I don't know.
Tilted upwards? Yeah, your head's higher than your feet, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Like 45
head's higher than your feet. A bit like a massage table, but tilted. 45, okay, yeah. but sure, adjustable.
Yeah. And then it's like your arms are laying in front of you, like really like a massage table. Yeah. But then because the seats are transparent, it just, you see people that they look like they're floating in midair.
Yeah.
And but that makes it look very futuristic, even for the 23rd century.
Yeah. And especially that orientation, when you feel like flying in the verse, really suits that well as well.
True. But I think also they have there, it's optimized for if you go more than an hour in there.
Yeah.
And then also when you go there, you get an injection. And then this means your body can basically handle being in suspension for so long.
Right. Not moving around.
Yeah, exactly. Because you, first of all, you're staying still. And second of all, you're basically in one place.
Yeah.
No matter how exciting your adventure in the verse is or whatever you're doing, your body is not...
Yeah, it takes care of your muscles, like they don't cramp up. Or...
Yeah, exactly. You get bruises from laying on certain body parts or whatever. And you get dusted off if you're there for a long time.
Yeah, not like just a few hours, but if you're there, go there for a week, for example.
Yeah.
You'll be dusted, fingernails will be clipped, face shaved, and so on.
Yeah.
Depending on how much you want that, You can,
and also
it's optional. If you want a beard anyway, don't worry about it. But if you want to stay smooth shaven, especially on you book, you're going to be there for 7 days. Maybe on the last day they give you a shave before you wake up.
Exactly, you wake up, it's like, hey, I was shaving every day.
Yeah,
it's true. What's the longest you've been in there?
2 weeks once.
2 weeks.
That was really special.
I've done 6 days a few times, but that's it.
2 weeks. It was. I wanted to really. So the trip was to an alien planet. I mean, all fictional, but to an alien planet. And I wanted to actually have the part where you travel there, not just teleport there immediately.
Okay. So I
had a few days traveling there, then the adventure, and then a few days traveling back. Basically, the travel was part of the adventure, part of the story.
I've done. I was in a world that was like Earth. Hundreds of years ago.
Okay, so a bit of time travel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was rebuilt based on what we know, and then you didn't have teleportation, so it was actually in the chorus verse. It was super relaxing. For example, I visited Canada as it was a few hundred years ago, and then it was a train ride from one coast to the other, and it was basically 2 days straight seeing the same landscape.
Right.
And it was like literally also in real life.
So for you,
2 days passed.
Yeah, and it was so then part of the fun was also the journey.
Yeah, it was almost meditating.
Did you meet, like at least for me on my the 2 week trip I took? What was nice was on the journey there, meeting different people on the spaceship, also going there, and then coming back, different people. Because
I mean, that's
a similar thing.
Most of the time when I'm in there, yes, but in this particular case, that was kind of part of the experience where that didn't happen.
That there weren't many people on the train.
Exactly. So there were other people, but they were all kind of there for the apparently meditating, self-finding experience. So you're basically sitting there, you're looking out the window, you see birch trees pass by, and then you blink and there's more birch trees, and then you sleep and you wake up and there's more birch trees. It was quite mesmerizing, but I'm not doing it again.
I know. So I say cool, but it was a one-time thing.
It's like afterwards you've thought about every possible thing you could possibly think about. Okay, I've done that. I don't need to do it again.
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe some decades from now you have some fresh things you want to think about, but I understand what you mean.
But yeah, so that's 6 days. So that was the longest I've been in there.
Yeah. So did you do you remember? Did you ask them to dust you, shave you, all that stuff, or? I mean,
I have the.
I mean, those things do cost extra, of course. Yes.
I mean, I have the premium CV subscription anyway, and on top of that, I have the CV Center subscription for a long time as well. So I don't know anymore exactly when this was.
No, sure. But then you would have had all the standard.
Yeah, exactly.
Perks.
Yeah. But maybe one thing that's interesting to mention about the teleporter seats is they can actually teleport you as well.
Yeah, not just your waist.
Yeah, I think that is a really nice feature because basically whenever you enter the world, it's through a kind of like a gate, portal, door or something. And this is basically the door to the CV center that you came. For example, the one I visited most is the one in Skyline Plaza. And then it's basically you enter and you're in, I don't know, let's say some jungle, and you look around and there's still like the gate to your CV center. So whatever you do in the world, at one point you return there, and then you wake up again in the CV center you were. But of course, in the world, you find all kinds of other exit gates. And at one point you can decide, hey, I'm going to take this one.
Yeah, especially if you get talking with someone in there and you fancy going to do something after.
Yeah.
It's it's a little bit of a, I don't think they would have made teleporters so integrated into the course verse for this particular purpose. This is more like something that is useful and has been added, and sure, it can do it, so why not continue it? But so the original purpose of the teleporter seats, I mentioned earlier, taking rid of your waste, and we just mentioned now teleporting somewhere to get a drink or whatever when you finish. But originally, you weren't meant to continue existing in the real world while you were in the verse. The reason they're teleporter seats is they actually, when you went into the verse, you stopped existing in the real world and only existed in the verse. And then when you left the verse, you stopped existing there, of course, and then came back into existence in the real world.
And if it was in the same CV center or wherever, you would appear again there, but you would be gone basically.
Yeah, it was a one-to-one thing. Like you're conscious, you as a person were only meant to exist in one place, either in the real world or in the verse, but not in both at the same time. That was the original idea.
So not your body still in your seat and your mind in the verse. They said just let's upload your body, keep the data. Whenever you exit, wherever this is, that's where we teleport the stuff to. And this theoretically still works, but at the moment they keep your body in your original seat until you exit. So if you exit in Australia, at that point your body disappears in the original CV center. So this does happen sometimes. You see people in suspension, suddenly some person disappears or somebody appears. Happens. But you know why they changed that?
Too many people went missing. Which is a pretty bad thing. And it's also not possible to know now. So some of them were from just technical bugs, which doesn't sound great. And others from, so some people do leave messages behind, or did leave messages behind saying, hey, I like it in there. I'm not coming back out.
Exactly.
Because they chose to stay in there. And then, went deep enough into the verse that they couldn't be found to be kicked out.
Or didn't want to be found. And it's also, your body is already gone, right? So you don't have anything to take care of anymore. It's uploaded somewhere, whatever. I don't know what happens with this data. And then they decide, this is fine. Why would I go back? This is great. I have jungles to explore, beaches to surf, and Viking hordes to fight. And why would I go back? That makes sense. But a lot of people also
people complained about it, meaning family and friends and family of the people who went, who disappeared in there.
And also
a lot of people did it to get out of debt, So then their debt, the people who they owed money were not so happy about it.
But there were also bugs that people couldn't come back because their body was no longer found. Like they were in there for too long, or something happened, or whatever. And teleportation, we've got that covered, from A to B immediately. But keeping your data for so long, for so many people at the same time that exit and enter all the time, at one point that just got too complicated. And then it was proven, and there were a few lawsuits where actually people's bodies were
misplaced.
Or just disappeared. But that was before my time anyway.
Sure.
I mentioned the premium model before. By the way, did you try the green one? The one with coconut? The cocktail.
And the drinks here. The coconut one was nice. And I just finished that actually.
Yeah, I just had my first sip from that one. I was going to recommend it, but you already have it finished.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Multitasking.
Yep.
But we mentioned a business model before. And I definitely have the premium subscription to the verse. And I think you too?
Yep, I do as well. I mean, you can of course use it without, for free. The visually obvious reason, or where you can tell if someone's doing that, is their hair is green.
Yeah.
And a certain shade of green, because there's lots of nice shades of green, but there's this particularly not nice shade. That's the only color you can have if you're using the free plan.
I like it in a way that is possible, that you can have the free plan.
Yeah, just to look around.
But of course, walking around, you spot the people with the free plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, I respect that, but it's still kind of, I don't know, feels a little bit awkward to have them somehow recognizable. But yeah, for a lot of people, this is the reason to get the premium plan, because, they don't want to have...
Well, so at least for me, that wasn't the main thing. So whatever, I could just shave my head or wear a hat. It's that the advertising is every 30 minutes in the free plan, and you'll be interrupted by someone coming up to you, talking to you, and they can be nice. And like we said earlier, it's clear that they're a marketer, but that can pull you out of it. Yeah, you're in a battle with a whole bunch of Vikings. That coconut was strong. Someone shows up, not dressed as a Viking, like in types of clothes from 2222, and then it really pulls you out of it.
And also, because then, they interrupt what is going on by explaining you about this new feature or a new hoverboard or whatever, and you
can't skip it. You can't block it. You have to listen to their 3-minute.
And the Vikings pause as well, right? Because
they listen,
yeah, exactly. But
they go, this is interesting.
Exactly. You should listen to this guy. Let's continue fighting after what he's. And then, but that's because with the premium, that's just once in 24 hours or so you get advertising. It's not completely advertising.
True, no, but it's just when you arrive, basically at the start.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So it doesn't interrupt what else you're doing. You just need to listen to this.
I was thinking every 24 hours, but that's because I'm not usually in there for that long. Yeah, once a day, I guess that's. Yeah. But with the free plan, every half hour.
Yeah, that's too often.
And especially, if you get it at the start, so it's not like, let's just go in there for 5 minutes, over 10 minutes. No, that you start with advertising in every half hour. It is also a nice call, saying, oh, I'm in there, and I'm apparently in here for another half hour. So
sure, yeah. Right, in that sense, it reminds you of how long you've been in there.
And it's so
often because they really do want you to subscribe.
And also so often out of context.
Yeah.
You're surfing, and then there's somebody pedaling up to you saying, hey, I have this awesome thing. Wouldn't you like to have...
But again, as earlier, the reason it's so pulls you out of it so much isn't what they would really want. They'd really like to be able to advertise to you subliminally, just work it into the background of the world. But that's illegal. So they do have to do it this way. So this being the only way they can advertise, they do.
But I've had it a few years ago. I can't remember. Was something wrong with my premium plan, and I've had the free plan for, I don't know, several months. And at one point, you do start to kind of get attached a little bit to certain salespeople.
Sure.
It's like
you do form a relationship with them.
A little bit, yeah, because you're walking somewhere, climbing a mountain or something, and you get to the top, and there's the guy with the mustache again sitting there saying, hey, did you think about my idea of the newest breakfast cereal? It's like, no. But then a few days later, he shows up completely somewhere else in this world with the same discussion. And then at one point I got the premium plan, and then the guy was gone.
Sure, yeah. Don't get to see them.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, that guy got premium. I can't advertise my breakfast cereal to him anymore. So kind of missed that.
Sure.
What does your avatar look like?
So I've had the same one for coming on 10 years now. About the same height as me. She's got black hair. I do the thing where my brother and I will often play in the verse together. And then we dress our characters the same. So our characters don't look the same in terms of their faces or so on, but we'll have matching outfits.
Okay.
Which is pretty, but his character's a guy, but then we'll somehow make combinations that match. We have hover bikes, for example, and when we fly our hover bikes, then I have this really cool racing outfit. Yellow and black, like the classic Kill Bill.
I've seen that. I've seen your character in this.
Yeah. Okay. Yourself? What is yours?
I still have the pink jacket. Is it called jacket in English?
Jacket, maybe?
No, it's not. It's the jacket without sleeves.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a word for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
A sleeveless jacket.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to maintain.
Right.
And then the kind of pinky reddish hair.
Yeah.
So and then
sure, I change my hair color pretty often. Right now it's black, but I change it pretty often. You keep it roughly the same?
Yes, I try to change things about him, but I try to have a few things kind of like consistent. So the people and the entities I meet in the game, they kind of recognize me. But then at the moment I have a mustache, same color as the hair.
Yeah.
And cowboy boots. I got those a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a promotion you could get them for.
Sure.
Not so much. But what I never change is the way my PA looks.
Right. I mean, you chose a design early on and have kept it consistent.
I used the same design. Okay, we didn't mention this actually. Or PAs. Right. Or PAs appear.
Personal assistants, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And on the free plan, they are just like in the real world, just a voice. But with the premium plan, you can also embody them. You can choose that they are a physical presence, and then you can also, choose what that looks like.
And I use the same, they look the same as they did when they were an avatar. A hologram.
Right. Yeah. From a while ago.
Yeah, exactly. They used to appear a lot as holograms. Mm-hmm. We spoke about this in a few episodes ago. Kind of like this classic butler look.
Sure.
So,
yeah, mine. I barely use it, but when I do need it to appear within the verse, I have it as this like green marsupial called Queelock.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Big eyes, big ears, really long tail.
Okay.
So it's pretty small. Like it can sit on my shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe I'm doing it with my hands.
The size of a cocktail.
20 centimeters tall, maybe.
The size of a cocktail.
Yeah, size of this cocktail glass right here. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I don't think I've seen that.
I barely use my PA, so that's why.
I like it because Mr. Dorbalina, that's the name of my PA. He appears occasionally anyway to say, hey, you've been in here for too long. Right. Don't forget to take a drink.
Remind you of something. Yeah.
Especially if I'm at home. And also, like, there's an appointment coming up. You should start thinking about leaving or just kind of wrap up this Viking fight, you know. And then I like it that he's so out of
context.
Yeah, exactly. Also the way he looks. Like, because
out of place, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's also not really interacting with whatever is going on around us. It's just interacting with me.
Yeah.
I like that. But I like it in general where, of course, our PAs are just artificial intelligence.
Right.
But they kind of become more real in there.
Yeah.
because they kind of like... I'm virtual myself in there as well, so we're both equally virtual.
On an equal footing.
Yeah, and I'm basically intelligent, and he's artificially intelligent. So that's kind of the only kind of like distinguishing point.
Yeah, but then depending on how good the PA is, and depending on how tired you are yourself, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the convergence.
Yeah, but it's like there's the difference. Like AI, they don't go off by themselves and go do stuff. But obviously, it's not just humans in the chorus verse, right? So there's the aliens have taken a really liking to it.
They enjoy it, yeah.
Both the Partians and the Illuminati are using it. They don't have anything like that on their planets.
Right. Sure, them and sentient animals.
Obviously,
also make an appearance. Robots.
Yeah, it's also really big in the robot scene. Because in the chorus verse, everybody's equal, or nobody's equal, depending on your point of view.
Sure. But it's the thing, like in the real world, you notice a robot's running low on charge, it has to quickly plug itself in. But when a robot's in the chorus verse, and it doesn't need to worry about that because it will just leave itself plugged in the real world.
Or in the real world, you just get angry because they're hungry. Doesn't happen in a chorus verse either. So but you don't notice that when you're in there, of course. Like if it's everybody's equal or nobody's equal, depending on your perspective. But when you speak to an entity that you meet in the world, it could be like a talking guinea pig, and this could be in real life, could be a robot or an alien or a human or whatever.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter. Like in real life, it doesn't really matter, but in real life, at least you notice.
And that does affect how you relate to one another.
Totally, yeah.
How people look and sound, it does affect you.
But it's also interesting because occasionally you leave the verse with somebody that you met in the verse, and then it's always...
Yeah, it's feel, hey, we had a nice conversation, let's go get a drink or whatever.
It's such a lottery, like when
both look like to each other.
Exactly. Is it a Roman or a human, and a male, female, old, young, whatever? It's very interesting always.
Yeah.
I like
that.
That's
part of the fun.
Yeah, and it's basically you meet...
It's a way of meeting people, while you're in there,
Exactly.
Part of how someone chooses to appear in there, of course, reflects some aspect of them. But more importantly, especially when you're for some days with doing stuff with people, you get a sense where do you get along, just talking, hanging out and so on, independently of how you look in the real world.
Yeah, and it's also where you maybe in the real world, you maybe tend to interact easier or faster with somebody that's a little more similar than you?
Either that, or just that you have certain preferences.
Yeah.
And right, then it's a good way of breaking those habits.
Totally.
Or changing those habits.
Totally. Did you build your orchestra?
I didn't build it myself. I joined an existing one.
Ah, really? Mm-hmm. Ah, okay.
But you built your own?
Yeah. I've based, but everybody in my orchestra is not real. So there's I'm
yeah. Well, that's part of the fun. I don't know in my one if any of them are real or not. I just joined, you know.
Oh, cool.
And I like to maintain that mystery.
No, for me, I actually use it as a kind of like. If I have another idea for an avatar that I don't want to use on myself or Mr. Dorbalina, I basically create another position in my orchestra.
Right.
But that's for the listeners. It's called orchestra, but it's basically just a band of
characters.
Band of characters, yeah. But it's called an orchestra because the game or the whole chorus verse was originally. It wasn't built for what we're using.
Right, it was for
right?
choir practice. That's why it was so important, actually, that you did teleport your physical body somewhere else. Yeah. It was so that you wouldn't annoy your neighbors with your singing.
Yeah, it's exactly choir practice. That's what was originally for. It's basically you connect to the chorus verse. You go in there and you meet whoever is in your choir to practice. And then it's because people are all over the world. You can teleport to one location, but you don't always fit in somebody's living room and you make noise and the neighbors don't like it. So they basically said everybody stays where they are.
Yeah, and you get to the advantage in the chorus verses. It's much easier to change the acoustics of the area in which you're singing.
Yeah. And also because there are so many different music styles, so many different instruments, and that they created all of these different worlds. And how awesome is it to have choir practice on top of a mountain? Mm-hmm. And then people started to just join the chorus verse and not really taking the singing so seriously and kind of wandering off or not even showing up to the actual location. And then they kind of recognized we can make money from it.
Yeah, there was more potential there.
Yeah. But that's also where I think for us it's completely established chorus verse. But I can imagine hearing it for the first time, it sounds like, what is this? Mm-hmm. But everybody just says the verse. Or
CV.
Or CV, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm out of talking points on the verse.
I think we covered a whole lot.
Shall we move to listener questions?
Mm-hmm. Let's do so.
You want to read it? I picked one.
Yeah. It's the thing where you're much more practiced through your work of reading names. What's this name?
Yusuf Mirza.
Mm-hmm. Yusuf Mirza says, "Hey Simon, hey Dirk, I've got a question for you. Where would you take me and what would you show me if I were to appear in your time? I like cycling and guinea pigs. Cheers from," and then a place I don't know how to say.
Fujairah.
I
actually, that's how I know it all as.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey Yusuf.
Thanks for emailing us.
Yeah, and also he says, "Hey Simon, hey Dirk."
Oh, indeed.
He greets us personally.
Hey
Yusuf. And I think, first of all, if he was to appear in our time, I would love to find out how that happened.
Sure, that's impressive.
Then afterwards,
after we worked that out,
I would take you to Fujairah. But then 23rd century Fujairah.
Exactly where he is right now, but 200 years later.
And you could see, wow, this is how the place that I know changed, and I recognize the beach. But especially to Fujairah, which I know it because of the giant falcon statue.
Yeah.
So Yusuf, in 200 years, there will be a giant falcon statue.
It's really impressive. I haven't been to see it in person, but I've seen photos and it looks really amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely, that's where I would take you and you would be amazed. Mm-hmm. And everything else, I guess, kind of like a bonus.
Yeah.
If you like cycling, maybe the Hoverbeek Arena in Dhaka. Huh?
Yeah, that's good stuff. There are a different type of hover bikes to the ones I mentioned earlier in the verse, but they're really cool.
Anything else we would take him?
Cocktails?
Yeah, that's right. Especially he likes guinea pigs, so we would just take him to a cocktail place.
Makes a lot of sense.
And then, I'm not sure if that's the case in the 21st century, but here you like guinea pigs.
They mix the best cocktails.
Totally. Yeah, they have that almost like a monopoly on cocktail making.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for emailing us, Yusuf.
Yeah, thank you.
shall we remind our favorite listeners how they get in touch with us?
Only the best. As Yusuf did, you can email us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com, and in the subject line put the number of the episode you're listening to, which in this case is number 83. That way we know that this test went back successfully, and also any questions or any comments you have, feel free to put those in the email.
Or cocktail recipes.
Definitely. Those are tasty too.
Okay. Then thanks for listening, and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.